It's my favorite time of year. Not only is this the season premiere of our fourth season, but we're kicking things off with our Hot Rules of Halloween series. And I got a feeling this is going to be our best season yet. So with no further ado, we're talking movies. We're talking Skinamarink, starring Lucas Paul, Dali Rose Terrett, and Ross Paul. Written and directed by Kyle Edward Baum. Chris, look under the bed.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of How'd You Like That Movie? As Scott said, we're going to be talking about the Canadian experimental horror film from 2022, Skinamarink. As well, through October, we are going back to our Hot Ghouls of Halloween. We have some amazing guests coming up, programmers from the Blood in the Snow Film Festival, as well as American filmmakers. We also have a producer, a local Canadian producer, who's going to be on the show as well. So yeah, without further ado, back to you, Scott.
All right. So before we start on this movie, I just want to say this movie has one of the best trailers that I've seen released in recent history. It's like,
well, that good, because that's about the only thing that's
wait, I'm not done. Shut
okay,
the fuck up.
Okay.
Hey, you shut your face. If we want to hear you talk, I will shove my arm up your ass and work your mouth like a puppet.
Okay.
Because like it gives you everything, like what this movie is and nothing what this movie is, and it has like a whole old school horror, like 70s satanic panic vibe, similar to like Amityville and like Rosemary. That's like the vibes it gives you on the trailer. But Chris, tell me, how do you feel about a horror movie of stock footage? Did it make it scary?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. So first off, it isn't all stock footage. There was a cinematographer. They shot at so the director is Kyle Edward Ball from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. He had a cinematographer in Jamie McRae, who, it's funny enough, is typically a gaffer and grip. Like, this is their first film as a cinematographer. They didn't even come out of the camera department, right? So yes, there is some stock footage. That is actually not even my criticism of this film. I'll be honest, like, this is such a fucking overhyped film. Like, one of the things, and I know that I'm gonna take a lot of flack for this, but one thing about like the genre fans is like they're like they will support a fucking film regardless. Like, it is actually one of the reasons why often, especially nowadays, I seem to find that filmmakers, when they're, including myself, when we decide that we want to do our first feature, we don't start trying to write like the great drama, you know what I mean, or a rom-com or anything. That we're like, they're going to do action or they're going to do horror or something like that, because you're like, I can sell it, and the fucking fans will be like, it's almost like they just respect the fact that you were willing to go out and try and make them something. Actually, I want to, because I'm gonna fucking just keep talking if I do. Scott, what did you think of the film? Like I said, I think that it is super overrated. Why don't we just start there?
Yeah, okay. I watched it with my middle child, because she's really into horror movies.
Well, and the other one's at university, so I'm pretty sure she wasn't coming home to
just
watch movies with
we could have watched it over Zoom together. But anyways,
watching you watch this film. Oh, hold on. Watching this film over Zoom with your daughter would have been more enjoyable than watching this film.
But here's the thing: like, if you had to ask me what the plot of this movie was, I would have no idea. Right? Like, I have no idea what the thing was, but I'll be honest, like it encompassed a vibe and like an atmosphere where like I was entrenched in it because I needed to pay attention, right? Like we were looking at shit like intensely, like, okay, did that thing just move? Did the door just open? The one thing that I like we were talking about in terms of the cinematography, like because it seems like you're technically being POV of either the children or of the entity that's in the house. So like you're pretty much just seeing through those eyes. If and that's what I got out of it. Is that what you got out of it too? Because the way they shot the cameras, like some cameras are like really low because you're child view, other ones you're like at the wall, like looks like you're looking at the ceiling down at these kids.
So I think some of that is true. I don't know how much the director really was thinking about like whose perspective of this is. I think that okay. So a bit of history on Ball, the director. As I said, he's from Edmonton, Alberta. This film was actually shot in his childhood home. I think that's super cool. I was reading a CBC article where he like shouted out to his mom for like, allowing them to shoot there and having the toys from when he was a kid, which you see in the film. So he originally ran a YouTube channel, and I mean the channel still exists. It's called Bite Sized Nightmares, where he basically took people would like put in their comment section things that scared them. Then he would make little 4 or 5 minute kind of short films about that experience. And then from that, he went on to do a short film called Heck, which is about 30 minutes. It's also on his YouTube channel. They're all the same style of shooting. So when I say that I don't think he put a lot of like thought into who the POV is, I don't mean that as like him as a director just didn't pay attention. I think that it's deliberately just more about showing it's very audience focused, right? It's less about, okay, so I'm going to show the audience something through something's eyes. I feel like it's more just like I'm going to show the audience imagery. It's because it's experimental, and the typically the definition of experimental when you're looking at film festivals and stuff has a non-narrative structure. This definitely has a non-narrative structure. Like I was looking at the Wikipedia plot description, and it implies way more like narrative structure than there is. Like this essentially is just like you basically got to kind of roughly figure out what the fuck is going on, and you may or may not be right about that. So one of the things is I want to critique the film. I actually don't want to critique the filmmaker because I think that he did a good job doing what I think he was actually trying to do. My big criticism of him is I'd love to actually chat with him. I actually might hit him up on Twitter and just say, why did you choose 100 minutes? Because so if you want to go with like the Academy definition of a feature film, it's 40 minutes and above. Often we talk about like feature film for distribution. 80, maybe 70 is kind of the minimum. But even that has changed in the world. Like this could have been 60 minutes on Shudder, which is where I saw it. I saw it on Shudder. So I would really like to know what made him go as long as he did, because you could just you could randomly cut out so much of this and it would just make it a more enjoyable experience. So I would like to know, he did direct it, he wrote it, and he edited it. So I would like to know what logic was used there, because it's a fucking grind fest. Isn't even the word for it. Like I was constantly checking the runtime, being like, oh my god, like I still have an hour of this fucking film to watch.
Well, I think that like when I was joking around about stock footage, because that's the thing, you would go and it would seem like it's a minute to 2 minutes of just a fly on the wall in a blue filter with a flashlight on it, right? And you're just staring at it, and it just has the little sounds or whatever, which sounds like it's like the film getting like recorded and then looped or whatever. Right? Like,
Yeah,
what
and
I
even
mean?
though they shot it on digital, they definitely used like a filter to give it that like grainy film stock vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing that I kind of appreciated with it. But yeah, like I did like in terms of everything in this film, like the whatchamacallit, the subtitles. Like anytime somebody talks, it's so low and so muffled that they needed the subtitles on there. But sometimes you would have like the full like you could hear it perfectly, but still have the subtitles kind of thing. The only thing that fucked me up is the one part, when it's like come to the basement, like we couldn't understand what it was saying, and it didn't have the subtitles, so we put on like closed captioning,
Mm-hmm.
and that was kind of a mistake because it would tell you everything that was about to happen before it actually
Oh.
happened. So we're like, oh, he's gonna turn on a flashlight now. And we're like, but yeah, like the thing, like my favorite moment and scene of this film is that bedroom scene where the girl goes up, and for no apparent reason her parents are just sitting on the edges of the bed. Well, it's one parent, and then one parent disappears, and it's the other parent
Yeah,
after.
that's I think about what 45 minutes in or something like that.
Yeah, and then it's just like, look underneath the bed, right? And like me and my daughter were like, oh, get ready for that fucking jump scare, right? Like, get ready for it. And then nothing happens, and then it goes up and you see the other parent, and then it's like, close your eyes, and then you see like the camera go black, and you're like, fuck, get ready for this jump scare. And then it's nothing, and then it's just like she tells the whatever presence or whatever is in there, tells her to go away. And then when she like hesitates, that's when the shit like jumps out of the closet, and you're like, what the fuck? Right?
So I'm glad you brought up that point, because I actually took specific note. That's how I knew it was roughly in the like 45-minute mark, because at that point there's very good tension. And I was doing the same thing in my mind, right? I'm like, okay, this is where the jump scare is. And I'm like, and if it's not here, they're going to do the part where you think there's a jump scare, you relax, and then blah, right? And it didn't, and it didn't, and it didn't. So, like I said, there's some very good filmmaking here. Like, it's competent. Actually, so my quote this week is from Chuck Bowen from Slant Magazine, and he says, Skinamarink is confidently made, and certain upside down images are especially creepy, but its spell is broken by the sheer ungodly slowness which springs from a pauncity of ideas. And I get it. Like, I agree. I think he's doing good work as a filmmaker. You're making 100-minute fucking experimental film. You know where I feel like this would work? If you were at like a cool Halloween party, like a rave or like dance function or something, and this was being like projected on the wall, or in like a haunted house and it's projected on the wall and there's like 9-inch nails playing behind it. Like, get rid of the actual soundtrack and it's just like like hardcore kind of music. Like, the imagery in itself is kind of creepy and eerie. But for 100-minute film, I'm like, this is fucking bullshit.
Well, first of all, let's calm it down there.
Calm down. Calm down.
Because
I don't calm down. That's not what I do.
I was gonna
That's what
say,
I'm here
like,
for.
he made this for $15,000, and it made $1 million in cinema. So
Actually, it made $2 million in cinema.
oh, even fucking better. And not counting how much he probably got for Shudder picking it up and the distribution there, to be honest. So good on fucking him.
Listen, and there's hard copy releases of this. There's a special edition VHS, there's DVD and fucking Blu-ray, right? So
I'm rich, biatch.
so let's talk about the money side of this. So as a film, I do not find it enjoyable. As an example of filmmaking, I think it's interesting. But let's talk about like the business side of it. Okay, go ahead. So you were saying?
So I think in terms of business side, the thing that I think for us that we can relate to it is, Blair Witch Project. Like, this became kind of a viral thing on TikTok because I think there was, from what I read, there was like an issue when at its first festival in which it got leaked. And then a bunch of people picked up on it and started releasing the shit on TikTok, which then it became like a viral sensation. And that's what got a lot more people into the theaters for it. But it was similar enough to, us growing up with Blair Witch when it was the adolescence of the fucking internet, where we didn't really know if the Blair Witch, they marketed like this is a fucking real story, right? Because it was the first kind of found footage thing, and you're like, holy fuck, right? And then you You're just like, it's just a fucking movie. Like, why
So
is
I
this
just want
girl?
to, hold on before we go. I just pulled up Blair Witch's numbers. So it says it's got a budget between 200,000 and 750,000. I think 200,000 was probably the original print, and then upgrading it and stuff when they did like went into distribution. Maybe the marketing is included in that budget. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, so let's say even at the high point, 750 million. That fucking movie did $250 million. Sorry, 750,000 was the cost at most. $250 million fucking return.
Yeah, similar to whatchamacallit, paranormal, or no, what is it? Paranormal, yeah,
Yeah, it's
paranormal activity,
Blumhouse, right?
which was what, 25,000, and it made like fucking shit ton of, like, it was the house that Bloomhouse built. But yeah, like, I think like, to go back to kind of what you were saying with genre, I think
So yeah, Paranormal was made for the same thing, roughly $15,000 with a $250,000 post-production budget. This is after it got picked up, and it did roughly 200 million. Yeah.
So I think the difference with this one is I don't think it had the extended theatrical, right?
It's not as enjoyable. Like, I mean, both Blair Witch and Paranormal Activity are, so Blair Witch is definitely more story.
Well, it has a narrative.
Yeah. This is just like white noise and weird camera shit for fucking 100 minutes. That's only gonna get you so far, right?
Right. But like, to me, like, I think because it's so experimental and stuff like that, I do think people should watch it, because like, it is especially for students of film, it is like a really good like fucking presentation on how to build fucking tension in a film, because every time there's a scene, you're thinking like shit's gonna happen, and they build it very well. It doesn't pay off, but it's still like, I think there's only in reality what, 2, maybe 3 jump scares in this whole film.
Yeah, I mean, I can count 2. Definitely that like you said, the one at the 45-minute mark,
The basement one,
and like maybe the ending.
yeah,
It's not really a jump scare, but you know what I mean.
Just
You're
like,
kind of like creepy, like
yeah. But yeah, like, I think it was well done. I like, and I'm glad we picked it as our first film for this one, because it's a nice dovetail where we're still back into the Canadian roots of films, and now we're moving on.
So, I mean, back to this topic of the leaked copy of it. So it premieres it doesn't premiere. Sorry, it plays at Fantasia, which is for those that don't know, it's like one of the biggest genre film festivals in the world. It takes place in Montreal, Quebec, in Canada. And then I think it was during a European film festival. It actually got leaked online. So it had already been picked up by AMC. It's AMC, I think, that owns Shudder, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So it had already been picked up by them. They had like a late October release date or something. This motherfucker starts leaking, and so they have to release it sooner. I wonder, even though this wasn't intentional, I wonder if we would even be talking about this film if that leaked copy had not ended up on the internet and built that momentum. You know what I mean? Because otherwise it would have been AMC picks it up, they release it. Like, I bet you it would not have gotten the theatrical distribution it had. I'd actually be wondering if AMC had ever even intended to do a theatrical release prior to its being released online.
Oh, you mean like
direct to streaming? You know what I mean?
Like like the Deadpool. Like, what would we even have a Deadpool movie without that little leak? Whoever leaked that.
And then about just a little under 2 years ago, it leaked accidentally onto the internet.
Accidentally.
I don't know what you're talking about, because I know nothing about Marvel movies because I'm a grown-up.
Hey man, those Marvel movies are a triumph of cinema. I live on those Marvel movies. I live for those Marvel movies.
So you're a fucking, come on. You're supposed to be like a film historian. So the Deadpool
I said
movie,
film, not fucking kids movies. Sure, but go ahead.
So Ryan Reynolds was trying to get that movie made, and no go. And then they test footage of it got released online, like just no one knows who it was, wink wink, and it brought the internet ablaze because everybody loved it, right? And then that's what got the Deadpool movie made.
I'm 70% sure it wasn't me.
So was it, so
Similar.
just because I have no idea what you're talking about. Was it just Ryan Reynolds in the Deadpool suit doing some like
Yeah,
interesting
funny
dialogue?
shit. And then no, funny shit. It like the scenes in the movie. It's like him like coloring, and then he jumps into a car and beats up a bunch of fucking guys. I think it's like the intro to the movie, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, that's what got it going, right? And I think similar to like Barbieheimer, like using social media and using what you can, especially kind of free tools, if you're able to use it and not having a marketing machine behind it. If you can get it viral on the internet, you're gonna fucking make money off this shit.
Oh,
right?
100%. And all those situations, other than maybe that, like you said, the Ryan Reynolds thing might have actually been intentional. Barbieheimer, like no one thought that was going to drive both of these films. I actually just looked it up. I think Barbie is now the 15th highest grossing film. Oppenheimer is like 70 or something like that. Like it's at like 900 million. Barbie's well over $1 billion. Yeah, the internet can do great things, and that's what I'm saying. I think that this film, if that accidental release had not happened, I don't know if we would be talking about it right now. I do think the fact that it had a $15,000 budget that was mostly from crowdfunding. And this is where, if you're a filmmaker and you have a YouTube channel that is successful, like you're actually doing content and you build a subscriber base, again, I bet you if you were to go back and look at his crowdfunding numbers, there's a good proportion of that came from him being able to basically monetize those subscribers, whether it's for $1 or $100 or $1,000 or whatever. It's a good way. I mean, this happens as well as if you're like an Instagram personality or whatever. I think that it allows you to use those people as an audience that could possibly give you money to fund your film. But again, I think it needs to be organic. Like if you just go and try and do crowdfunding often, it's not successful because who the fuck are you?
Help me, I'm poor.
And like you already need to have that audience base. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing that I kind of appreciated with this film too, like it's kind of like oh my god, what was the movie with Blanchett, Tar, where all the credits are at the beginning of this film, right? Like they thanked everybody, like everything's right at the very beginning.
Well, and that's actually an old school, like credits used to be at the beginning of films.
Yes, I understand, but Tar is kind of like the most recent one that I can think of that has actually done it. Most people have waited, like name another one other than this movie that's done it in the recent years.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I see. You shut me up because you got nothing. Fuck you.
So I would honestly, instead of watching this, like if you really don't want to, if you don't want to devote the 100 minutes, I do agree with you, Scott. If you're a film person, if you're a horror person and you want to kill 100 minutes, I would definitely watch it in the dark. Like if you watch this thing with the lights on and stuff, it's going to really degrade any effect it's going to have. Sure, go watch it. If you don't, I would check out his short film, Heck. It's like I said, it's roughly 30 minutes. Or you can just like watch a bunch of the stuff off his YouTube channel. And I mean, there'll be a link. I'll make sure there's links in our podcast. What do we do? The comment section YouTube. And whatever in the body of our podcast description, so that will directly link to his YouTube, because I think you should check that out. I personally am not going to recommend you, if you're just like you want to check out a film, to go check this fucking thing out. If you do, turn it on, watch a couple minutes, fucking turn it off. Do not pay to rent it. Don't do any of that. He's already got enough money. Like, good for him. Like I said, as an independent filmmaker, I love the fact that this guy parlayed $15,000 into $2 million, whatever percentage of that he gets. I do wonder, is he going to be able to turn this into a filmmaking career, or is he? Because again, all his stuff is kind of, this is just the next, Heck is an extension of the YouTube channel.
Heck is also the proof of concept of this film, right?
Sure. So
I think that's what he used to sell it.
Yeah. So can he do Can he do other, like, can he do like a narrative film? That will be what's interesting to see.
Like I was trying to find it, but I couldn't find it because I know when this movie got released, the curator or guy from Shudder who picked up this film liked it so much that he's now, I believe, starting a production company with, and his first feature from this production company is going to be by this director because he believes in him so much. Now, whether or not they're going to do straight narrative or try to do, I don't know,
I'll be
something
honest,
else similar to
if you were asking me, do you want to like bet on that production company? I would be like, no. Like that sounds fucking super risky considering I think there's a lot of converging forces that happened that allowed, and that's me saying, you know, I have a lot of faith in the genre audience department to drive films, but like there's a lot of production companies out there, or sorry, yeah, there's a lot of production companies. There's still only so much distribution. Did you say that he's from Shudder?
Yeah, I was trying to find it again for the research, but I couldn't find it because I didn't know how to like Google search it. But it was the guy who from Shudder who I guess his job was to go watch these movies and pick them up so to become Shudder originals. And then he believed in this one so much that after, and the success of it so much that he left Shudder to start his own kind of thing. And yeah, I think he's bringing this director with him to try to do it. Now, whether or not, like I said, like I don't know, because I still don't understand what 572 days were with the house with the Legos on top of it was supposed to mean. Like, if we're just doing 500 of these films, I also don't think it's going to be very well, but I am going to be interested to see if he can do narrative because he can do fucking tension really, really well. Right. So,
listen, it's got a 72% from the critics. It has a 44% from the audience on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't have anything else to say about this film. Like I said, good on Kyle for making some money, and you know, also bringing Sharon, Lois, and Bran into the conversation, which we didn't even talk about. The fact that Skinamarink, he referenced their song, but it's actually not their song. He said that it's actually an older, this Skinamarink a Dinky Dink is actually an older song. It is kind of a fucking creepy song when you think about it. Just like it's yeah, it's got a vibe. Great title, not such a fantastic film. Yeah, that's all I got.
and that is our wrap for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. If you want to get a hold of us, reach us at the www.howdyoulikethatmovie.com.
I don't know. I checked right the fuck out. And like I said, I turned the lights off. I put my phone down. I really, I don't try at a lot of things. I definitely tried at this. The idea of like, okay, give it the space it needs to do what it's supposed to do is overrated. Fucking overrated.
But I'll give this. I am never gonna fucking look at a toy phone with eyes ever the fuck again, because they made that shit 100% creepy.
Production by Rod Shaver, Vader Monkey Productions.